football analyst. The FIFA World Cup 2018 has given us France as the new world champion. Croatia, the second place holder, is worth a mention for the phenomenal game that they have gifted the viewers with. Although they have failed to lift the cup, but they have managed to hold a very special place in our hearts of football lovers around the globe. Well, Ronobir, last evening France have lifted the cup. How would you like to describe their whole journey throughout this tournament?
Well, France started the tournament as favourites, definitely. But they were one of the favourites because there were other teams like Germany, Brazil, Argentina, these big teams, and obviously England. All these teams were favourites to lift the cup. If you look at the group stage matches, France began pretty slowly and they had pretty average performances, and they even conceded a draw in the very last match. And the first two matches against Peru and Australia, their performances wasn't up to the mark. Even we came to know that Didier Deschamps was pretty unhappy with the performance of the big players, and he was looking to replace some of them for such attitude in the field. But when it was all about in the knockout stage, things changed drastically. That's what you can expect from such big teams. And then France changed the gear. You know, in big tournaments like this, it's important to peak in the right time. That's what happened for France. If we look at how they played in the pre-quarter final, quarter-final, semi-final, and the final itself, you will see the graph has been an upward one for France. And if you look at Croatia on the other hand, they were literally drained out in the 3 knockout matches because all the matches went to extra time, and those were pulsating matches, and that's how I believe in the final itself they were fit. They were definitely fit, but inside they were to some extent drained out, and that actually played a part as if you see the performances. For example, yesterday I was checking so many of the tweets, and they were saying that Luka Modric, one of the main players for the Croatia team, didn't perform well in the final, but he has been superb all throughout the tournament. So what may the possible reason behind such? As we say, law of average is something. So I guess France played pretty well, and credit goes to Deschamps, who is the third player in the history of the world football after Mario Zagallo of Brazil and Franz Beckenbauer of Germany to lift the World Cup both as a player and as the coach of the team. That's a remarkable achievement. You don't get to see such. Indeed, he is a French legend, and that was quite evident when the French President Emmanuel hugged him tight, and he was laughing and he was crying all together. That's what you can expect someone like Didier Deschamps, a compatriot of players like Patrick Vieira, Zinedine Zidane, Thierry Henry.
Yeah, right, that's right. Luka Modric of Croatia have really made a mark in the hearts of all the football fans. We saw him lifting the golden ball last night. How significant was he throughout the tournament?
Well, in this regard, I want to discuss on 2 aspects. One is the issue of golden ball, and another Luka Modric. Over the years, we have seen that big players who have played well but haven't lifted the cup have been given the golden ball. For example, in the very last World Cup itself, we saw Lionel Messi being given that. And we know that Messi was part of the Argentine team, which was runners-up against the Germans. So this is some sort of consolation for Luka Modric. But if you have seen all the matches of Croatia itself, right from their match against Argentina, Luka Modric remained the pivot for the whole team. They are one of those teams where they didn't have big names. If you consider the midfield considered to be one of the best in the current football, as far as if we consider the nations or the countries, having Brozovic, Rakitic, Modric, and having Mandzukic up front, Luka Modric basically paused the game. And when we were looking at why the Croatian team was not able to come with spirited performance, you'll definitely look or scan the performance of someone like Luka Modric. Anyhow, credit goes to him for lifting up the performance. I remember prior to the semi-final itself, Rakitic, who is another fantastic player and plays for Barcelona along with Real Madrid, along with someone like Messi or Suarez, he mentioned that I am lucky enough to play with someone like Luka Modric in the team. For example, all these years we have been saying Cristiano Ronaldo has been scoring so many goals along with Bale or someone like Benzema. But we often forget how does Toni Kroos and Luka Modric, these two industrious footballers, midfielders in general, how they boss the midfield altogether. And don't forget that in this specific Croatia team, they don't have players like Toni Kroos or someone like Cristiano Ronaldo. And we know with the event with Kalinic's case. Now, I have to mention Kalinic's case because in the 23-man squad of the Croatia team, they had two forward players. One is Mandzukic and there is Kalinic. In the very first match, Kalinic was asked to come in the ground to take part in the last 5 minutes, but he declined. And later he was told that he may leave the country itself. So virtually, the Croatia team played with only one centre forward, and that to Mandzukic. So you understand, they came up to the finals itself, and that too, they come up with a spirited performance. Even though they were lagging behind with 3 goals against France, they still worked hard and coming up with the centres and passes, and credit goes to Luka Modric, the captain of the team, because he helped the team, he held the formation together, and time and again we saw why the Croatian coach Dalic emphasized on Luka Modric's role in the specific Croatia team. So it's indeed a pretty good decision for the FIFA committee to give Luka Modric the golden boot for this year's World Cup, rather the golden ball.
Yeah. So how would you like to speak of youngster Mbappe's performance in this last game? I would take that answer after a short break.
जिक्र जब भी जीएसटी की होती है तो नजरें ढूंढती हैं जीएसटी दोस्त विकास धनानिया को।
नमस्कार विकास जी, बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया आने के लिए।
विकास धनानिया बात करते हैं पूरी जिम्मेदारी के साथ
कि यहाँ पर गुड्स को रिसीव्ड नहीं किया गया है। हाँ, लेकिन तब आपको ये प्रूफ करना पड़ेगा कि भाई हमने तो हैंड रिक्शा से मंगा लिया है।
आम आदमी जीएसटी को जानना चाहता है, लिहाजा सवालों का अंबार है। इन्हीं सवालों को समेटते हैं हमारे होस्ट राकेश। हर ट्यूसडे और फ्राइडे रात 8 बजे होस्ट राकेश और दोस्त विकास धनानिया हो जाते हैं आमने सामने, सिर्फ आपके लिए जियो बांग्ला पर। देखिए जीएसटी की बात दोस्त के साथ जियो बांग्ला पर।
Welcome back to Googly Mania. Well, Ranobir, we were speaking about Mbappe's performance in the last game. What would you say about that?
Well, Mbappe has been... I'm not going into the fact that he has been awarded the best youngster for this year's World Cup. I want to look at his performance. Yes, Kylian Mbappe is already a household name. Not because of his performance in this World Cup, but he has been the costliest player of Europe. He plays for PSG, and we have seen him, what impact he can have. And if you have seen the games France has played in this year's World Cup, he's the only player who has been given absolute license by the French coach Didier Deschamps, and he didn't have to care about defensive abilities. The instruction was clear and transparent that whenever Mbappe is going to get the ball, he is going to run towards the goal itself and is going to create all sorts of worries. Yesterday in the match itself, there were some interesting moments. Even when the Croatian team was lagging behind 3 goals and they were pressing the French defense, whenever Mbappe got the ball itself, in a twist and turn, he could take 3 or 4 defenders altogether, and suddenly we saw players like Anthony Griezmann or Giroud reaching up the penalty box itself and reaching in positions to score goals. Even I would say the goal which Pogba scored, it was all about Mbappe creating that much of space. We have seen the same thing happening for PSG, but in this case also, I would like to congratulate Didier Deschamps yet again, because the French team has got so many star players. Remember, he didn't take someone like Karim Benzema, he didn't take someone like Frank Ribery in the team itself, and they have got Dembele and other youngsters who are one of the most talented ones and can get into any playing 11 all over the world, be it a club team or a national team. So the credit goes to Didier Deschamps for giving him the chance, and in all the matches we have seen, he has given ample playing time to someone like such a young player like Mbappe, and he has taken it. And in important matches, we know that big players are the ones who come up with such stupendous performances in the big matches. For example, in the match against Argentina, we saw how Mbappe rattled the Argentinian defense. And the way he ridiculed the players like Marcus Roque and others, and Lionel Messi, one of the best players in the world today, he also looked in shambles looking at the pace of someone like Mbappe. And he has got that old style of dribbling the ball and running with the ball and without the ball altogether. A young player, 19 years of age. And don't forget, he is the one who has scored the record like Pele, the legendary Pele, of scoring in quarterfinal, of scoring in the finals, the teenager who has scored in the finals, and so many fans cheering up his name. And I was literally happy to see before the presentation itself, when in the Luzhniki Stadium, there were highlights going on regarding the goals itself. The way Mbappe was smiling and looking at the giant screen, his goal, it literally said everything. I know that these players like Messi and Ronaldo, probably they are going to play for another 2-3 years. But we have a new superstar. It's none other than Kylian Mbappe.
Right. How much important his role will be for the future of the French national team?
Well, this French national team is a pretty crazy team because there are players for so many countries altogether. Even I was just looking into the social media debate whether they have got the players from Mali, from Nigeria itself, from Portugal itself, and obviously and Mbappe, the inspiring story of Mbappe. If you look the way he has come up, it reminds me the stories of the Brazilian superstar Ronaldo or Ronaldinho, how they have come up from places like Rio de Janeiro, playing in the streets itself. Mbappe's story is also no different. And one thing I have seen while playing for PSG or while playing for like the French national team, he has a knack of natural leadership. Especially yesterday when the France team was going in attack itself, even someone like Griezmann, who has been coming up with such solid performances in Atletico Madrid also, he was relying on someone like Kylian Mbappe. A team whose average age is something like 20-24, relying on a guy who is barely 18 years of age. That says enough of this guy. I can definitely say that the future of France, the Les Bleus, is in safe hands when they have a player of the caliber of Kylian Mbappe. But definitely, the teams in which you are playing, the team management, the coaches need to be careful so that they can preserve the best in him. And in the coming years, the football fans all over the world can see such wonderful performance from this young teenager.
Which side do you think showed the best game or the most deserving performance in the last night's match?
Well, France won the game. I have seen that tactically, France is a much better team. The reason behind is that their coach is well adept. See, you have seen Didier Deschamps playing for the France national team for so many years. As a club player too, he has been an extremely successful player. And as we have seen the performances, we have seen that the tactics were simple. That France is going to play in different phases. And they are going to slow up the game whenever the Croatian team look to attack. And probably one of the only teams who have got right players in right position. Talking about the France defense, they had someone like Samuel Umtiti, who plays for Barcelona, Rafael Varane, another tall player who plays for something like Real Madrid. Then they also had young Pavard, who looked frightening whenever he went up. And in the midfield, they had someone like Paul Pogba, costliest player of Manchester United, the 100 million player. And side by side, we had someone like N'Golo Kanté, who is one of the best defensive midfielders of this current world. He plays for Chelsea right now. It was important. Tactically, Didier Deschamps is strong. I'm telling you the reason behind. Before the first half, the break itself, we saw N'Golo Kanté was given a yellow card by the referee. Didier Deschamps didn't wait because he knew that it would be a risk to have him, because he won't be going for the final tackle, because if he has got another yellow card, then then the France team will be of 10 players. He didn't risk that, and Zhang Joki was brought in that context. That actually shows what again, Nabil Fekir, another young player who plays, we have seen him playing in the French league altogether. He was also brought in to add some pace. But if you see, on the contrary, the Croatian team, it was all about Modric, Rakitic, Mandzukic and Perisic. That's why they didn't have any good plan B. They did bring some of the substitutes, but they weren't as effective. This is something I want to point out here. This is what you call tactically being strong. Nowadays, it is something, for example, many of my Brazilian fans who live in Kolkata, they were saying, oh yeah, if Brazil had been in the finals itself, we could have easily defeated France. But never mind, it's not that easy either, because Brazil lost the battle tactically against Belgium. Nowadays, football is more tactical. I think that's why France came up with a matured performance, a spirited performance, and a team performance, in spite of having so many good players. For example, so many things have been said about Olivier Giroud, one of the forward players of the France team. He didn't score a goal throughout the World Cup itself. Being a number 9, Didier Deschamps kept him in the team and he played in all the matches. Now you may say that why was he given the opportunity to play the final match when he hasn't been able to score a single goal in any of the 5 matches? Didier Deschamps categorically said that we want the defensive aspect of Giroud, because Giroud, a 6'2" striker, whenever he's playing up front, he is creating space, and that's actually helping someone like Anthony Griezmann, who's playing behind, and someone like Kylian Mbappe, who's playing towards the right flank. This is what you call tactical brilliance. I think that's why altogether France played a compact game. But anyhow, all credit goes to Croatia, because a team, a country which has won independence in the 90s itself, and they have qualified 5 times in World Cups out of 6 times, which is an amazing achievement. A country of 4 billion people. And the best thing I would remember, the way the Croatian president hugged each and every player, notwithstanding be it from Croatia or from France and even the referees. It was a wonderful, wonderful gesture. After all, football is a beautiful game.
That's right. Well, Croatia made their maiden World Cup appearance in the final. Was it the lack of experience which led them to lose the match against France?
Obviously, when you have, you can definitely say that these players, they have played in the club tournaments. True, they have played in Champions League final. That is also true. But when you are playing together as a team, you need to have experience playing in such big platform. The last time Croatia reached the 3rd position, it was way back in 1998. And ironically, in that year also, France won the World Cup. It was Zinedine Zidane who spearheaded the French attack, and they teamed the Brazilians in the final. And it was the hosts, France, who won the match. But that time around, that specific team of Croatia was all about individual brilliance. Now, if you consider this year's team altogether, barring few players like Rakitic and Modric and Mandzukic, all other players, those names are not popular. I would also like to name someone like Subasic, Daniel Subasic, who is the goalkeeper of the Croatian team. Yes, he failed to stop the penalty yesterday, but don't forget, in the last 3 matches itself, we have seen him who has safeguarded the Croatian goal twice. And saving penalties is not at all an easy task, especially when you're playing knockout matches. So it's all positive for Croatia right now, and I would love to see their team coming strongly in the Euro Cup 2 years later. And definitely Modric deserves a World Cup, and I would love to see him that this time around he gets a Ballon d'Or, because we are simply too tired seeing someone like Messi or Ronaldo having it over and over again.
Thibaut Courtois has won the Golden Gloves even without playing the finals. What are your views on that?
Well, it's being said that as far as Golden Gloves, Golden Boot, Golden Ball, all these are considered, FIFA has categorically said that it's not that only players of teams who are in the final are eligible. And if you have seen the performances of Thibaut Courtois, who plays for Chelsea in his club team, he had a pretty mediocre performance all throughout the year. Even although he's a personal favorite, I wasn't actually sure whether he at all will be representing the Belgian team behind the bars. But it was indeed good to see that Thibaut Courtois playing such an important role, especially the match against Brazil in the quarterfinals itself. I would categorically say that he saved 12 to 13 goals, and Belgium was pretty lucky, because Belgian defense really looks pretty fragile, and it was all due to Courtois that players like Vincent Kompany and others could go up front, and in one-to-one situation, a tall lad scoring like that. And you can say there are other motivations as well, because there are discussions going on whether Courtois will be going in Real Madrid or not. So whatever may be the case, Courtois gave his best performance. And as for the other goalkeepers are concerned, you may talk about Hugo Lloris, but you can remember the howler, yet again a goalkeeping howler in the final. Hugo Lloris trying to put the ball itself and Mandzukic scoring. So basically they didn't have too many other choices either. So it was all about Courtois. In the semi-finals also, in the match against France, even though France won the game, Courtois was actually, he was one of the main pivot who helped Belgium not to concede an extra goal. So I think this is where I think FIFA has truly done the right judgment in choosing Courtois for the Golden Gloves.
We saw Anthony Griezmann lifting the Europa Cup this year, and last night he lifted the World Cup as well. How much do you think winning the Europa helped him to boost himself for the World Cup?
Well, Anthony Griezmann in his club attire, he plays for Atletico Madrid, and they have got the coach in the form of Diego Simeone, who is also another Argentine legend. He used to play in the time of Ortega, Batistuta and all these players, Veron. So I would say that the team formation in which Atletico Madrid plays is very different from France, because categorically I would say that this Atletico Madrid team is a defensive team. They always have someone like Anthony Griezmann up front, and times they bring Diego Costa or Fernando Torres, but after all he never comes down. But defensively he's pretty good. Now Europa is a second tier league, because teams which don't qualify for the Champions League, basically they go towards the Europa League. So I won't be giving too much significance upon the Europa League, but definitely there were much speculation whether he is going to leave Atletico Madrid and join Barcelona. I remember in one of the official statements he said that my club is not being able to go into participate in the transfer business because of the FIFA ban. So I have decided that in spite of all opportunities or chances, I am not going to change my club for this season. That was indeed a big statement from someone like Anthony Griezmann. And don't forget that although Hugo Lloris has been the captain for the French team, it was Anthony Griezmann who marshaled the resources. Be it free kick, be it penalty altogether, it's always been someone like Anthony Griezmann coming up front, and with this typical we say the way of celebration, doing this and that, we have attuned to that, seeing him scoring. But definitely Europa League is a league where so many good teams contest, especially from Europe altogether. So I would definitely say the experience, and don't forget that this France team was the runners-up in the Euro Cup, in which Cristiano Ronaldo's Portugal won the game. Anyhow, I have reservations against that game because France dominated the game altogether, but probably they lacked the spark of someone like Kylian Mbappe, what actually helped them in today's match.
Thank you, Ronabir. That's all for the edition of Googly Goals. Don't forget to like and share and comment on our Facebook page. Also do subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thank you.